Gaming.
Hello and welcome to the regular Flange with Intoxicus Gaming. It's March the 31st, and we're here to talk about this whole Mario's going to be a big year, but really, we're here to talk about it's going to be a slow, really slow year for Nintendo, and I think that's why we got the Mario thing going on. But overall, the real main topic is Nintendo's going to have a slow 2020, and that's totally okay. And I'm going to ramble on a bit before we get into any of the actual articles or any of that. But before the whole COVID thing started up, Nintendo was coming slow out of the gate this year. Like their usual early on in the year announcements and hype were just nowheres. Even for Nintendo, it was like really not there. And Nintendo has had like slow years and slow to get to directs, but it's like, wow, this is probably one of the longest it ever took them to get to their first general direct of the year, and it was a mini direct. And that's not COVID. This was in the works before then, because we've got these big games that we're anticipating, like Metroid, Bayonetta 3. There's a few more. Those are just the two big ones that stand out, and like a Metroid Prime trilogy would be nice. And we'll touch on it more later, but I suspect Nintendo's waiting until they release a Switch Pro or some sort of new console next year to drop these big first party titles. And that's really why we're having a slow year, but they're using COVID as kind of a cover for their slow year, so they can easily just be like, oh, we're having a slow year because of COVID, when really it was going to be a slow year from the get-go. And I can't really prove that too much without, going through the inner workings of Nintendo. We can go back in time and see how before COVID started, it was slow before then. And even last year was maybe even a little bit on the slower side than we would have hoped. But, it makes sense. If they're gearing up for some sort of new hardware next year, why would they drop a bunch of big releases? They'd want to save their biggest stuff for next year, and it would also assume whatever new console or upgrade to the Switch they're releasing would have to be backwards compatible, otherwise a lot of stuff becomes a problem. But they've already done this with the 3DS series. But anyways, we'll touch on the Mario stuff specifically, and we'll come back to it because it all comes together. And just my main premise is that the Mario stuff, they might have been planning that already, but I think now they're really doing it to be like, oh, it's a slow year, we need something, Mario's 35th anniversary, perfect. We'll keep everyone not thinking about how slow of a year they're having with first party releases by doing just more remasters and ports and that kind of thing. So, well, I got the cat hair off my face. I love my kitties, but oh my god, the hair sometimes. I'm just like super sensitive to it. When I got the cat hair on my face, it just drives me nuts. Anyways, to the actual thing. So, VGC, Video Game Chronicles, I believe is what that's an acronym for. Just yesterday, the 30th, dropped this article. They were the first one, I believe, and then lots of people following suit confirming it. And basically, the word is this stuff was, lots of people knew about this, but everyone was kind of waiting for someone to leak it first, and then someone finally did, so everyone's like, yeah, we've been hearing about this for a while. So basically Nintendo wants to do a big Super Mario Bros 35th anniversary cool thing, which, as much as I'm excited for this, I gotta be like, dude, why did Nintendo drop the ball with the Legend of Zelda last 5 year divisible anniversary where Breath of the Wild was released? It's like it was weird. I think it was the Legend of Zelda 25th anniversary or something, 30th anniversary, something like that. It was an anniversary for Legend of Zelda around Breath of the Wild time. It was like, where was all this for that? Anyways, moving on to the Mario stuff. I gotta say that, like, where was the Legend of Zelda stuff? Anyways, I'm a Legend of Zelda fan, and yeah, anyways, moving aside, because we're talking about Mario, my apologies for that aside, because it is a little bit off topic, but it bothers me. Where was the Zelda stuff? Anyways, back to the Mario. Lots of interesting details. We've got that Mario Lego set, which is very interesting, very cool. I want to get my hands on that if at all possible. And we'll go on to the next article. So more details. So, it's confirmed that Mario titles set to appear are Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. Hopefully the Mario Galaxy 2 sequel also. The speculation is it'll be kind of like a Mario All Stars type dealy, where it's like all the games are on one thing and kind of set up like that was, maybe some extras. There's also going to be some sort of deluxe version of 2013's Super Mario 3D World, which that's going to be really cool. Like, this is great. This is awesome. This will definitely keep us busy while we don't have a lot of first party titles from Nintendo and just lots of third party remakes and remasters and their own first party remakes and remasters. But when it comes to new first party stuff that's not a remake or a remaster, we got like nothing from Nintendo this year. Like nothing. And that's fine. Like, you can't always have hot years. But it's and like so before we touch on that thought, let's finish with like what's actually coming from the Mario stuff that's being rumored that we know of. Supposedly also a new Paper Mario of some sort. Not a whole lot of details on that, but it seems to be more or less confirmed that there is a new, yeah, sources have confirmed new Paper Mario in the works. So awesome. Great way to keep us distracted from it being just a slower year in general. Am I missing an article? Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. That's what's going on. Yeah, so there's one more to look through. Yeah, not too much in this last one. It'll all be in the sources if you want to look at it yourself. Just want to pull up complete sources and we'll just go back to watching me. So yeah, why, like the kind of the underlying why would they have a slow year? Why would they not be just upfront about it and be like, oh, we're having a slow year? Well, you can't always have good years, and if they're waiting for next year when they probably have some new console hardware coming, there's been some rumors that Nintendo's kind of halfway shot down. They kind of did the thing again where if you look at their phrasing, they only said there's not something new or like a Switch Pro coming this year. If you look at specifically what they said, they only said not a Switch Pro this year. There could be a Switch Pro next year. There could be new hardware this year that they've not announced, but I think it'd be a bad idea for them to release any new hardware this year. And why would they even have a slow year at all? Well, I mean, the Xbox One X, or sorry, Xbox Series X and PS5 are coming out this winter. Why would you even want to compete with that? If I was Nintendo strategizing in the big picture, I'd be like, PS5 and Xbox Series X, that's our slow year. Let's plan for it. Oh, also happens to be Mario's 35th anniversary. Perfect. That'll help us cover for the slow year, keeping them busy with Mario remakes, and hopefully they won't notice too much they're not getting any new first party stuff. Because let's say they are working on new hardware, which I'd say they better be. It's kind of like the GTA 6 coming out rumors. It's like if you look at the clock, how long it takes for the shit to flange up, it's about due for a new GTA 6. And same with the Nintendo console hardware. If you look at the 3DS and 2DS and DS series and how they flanged that up, and it kind of seems like they might be continuing with a similar pattern with the Switch. We're due for a new hardware that's something more than the Switch Lite. We're due for something serious. And with the new generation of PS5 and Xbox Series X, they kind of got to keep up. As much as the portability of the Switch is awesome, if they don't keep up with graphics fidelity and just console power, they don't have to totally keep up, but they at least have to be moving into some 1440p 4K kind of area somehow, even a dedicated home console that's not portable at all, that's still compatible with the Switch, which I suspect that's actually what they're going to do. We might even get a Switch Pro and a dedicated home console, or the Switch Pro is, covers the home console thing and does 4K docked and 1440p or 1080p undocked. So, but anyways, the point is, like, they have to do something new to keep up, at least in some sense of keeping up, not, keeping all the way up, but, they can't fall too far behind, even if they are playing, oh, we focus more on game quality and less on graphic fidelity, which has been their strategy for a long time, but they still have to keep up. And if they don't keep up to 4K, it will be a problem for them. So if they're not disconnected, which they have been showing a lot of signs of being disconnected, we're going to be seeing some new hardware from Nintendo next year in some form that's going to be more powerful than any existing Switch hardware. Maybe not by a lot, because it still has to be backwards and forward compatibility, at least to some extent, like the DS, 3DS series, 2DS series. So, strategically in the big picture, it makes sense for them to wait for next year to release any new hardware, even just wait until after the holidays. Don't even wait until 2021 holidays, but do it like the Switch where they did it in the spring. And just don't get too clustered in their competition's new hardware and all their new stuff. Let them have the spotlight. And if they're smart, that's what they're doing. Is they're letting Xbox and PlayStation, they can have the spotlight this year. Nintendo gets 2021. If they're smart, that's what they're doing. And if they're smart, they do have new hardware coming, but not this year because it's a bad year for Nintendo to do anything too big or too new because of Sony and Xbox and what they're doing. But why would they kind of obfuscate and not just straight up tell everyone, yeah, we're having a slow year this year. Don't expect anything first party, and enjoy the remakes and the remasters and the Animal Crossing because that's pretty much the only first party new game you're going to get. And enjoy the remakes and the remasters, and really make sure to enjoy Animal Crossing because that's probably going to be the only big first party game this year, or one of the very few compared to what Nintendo usually has done historically first party wise. I mean, there could be some stuff that's just not been announced, granted, but what we're looking at now compared to Nintendo's Nintendo's usual patterns, we're looking at a very slow year, even including anything they might announce or hype up, at their E3 direct, even though there's no real E3 this year. But again, back to why hide it? We're in a capitalism where you need to always be growing, or your investors and shareholders think less of your company, and then your value goes down. So they can't really do that because their shareholders and investors will be like, where's their growth? And that's really what it comes down to. They can't be honest about it. Otherwise, their shareholders and investors will get freaked out because capitalism works like that in 2020, which I could go a long rant about the flaws of capitalism. I am definitely for capitalism, but modern capitalism is out of balance. And it's in these ways where it's out of balance, where it promotes unlimited, nonstop growth, which is just unrealistic and unsustainable. Capitalism should totally allow for companies to be like, we're having a slow year, that's fine, we're sustaining, we got plans for next year. But capitalism isn't very big on that. If you're not growing and you're not making more profits than you did previously, they get freaked out about it. Investors and shareholders get freaked out if you're not always making more money than you made previously. It's a weird thing about how capitalism is done now. If you want to talk about it, jump in the comments or jump in a stream. I'd love to chat about this kind of stuff, but I don't want to get too deep into it during the video. But that's what I feel is the primary reason why Nintendo wouldn't just straight up tell us, yeah, we're having a slow year, because they're afraid it'll freak out investors and shareholders. That's really mostly what it comes down to. But I think they know they're going to have a slow year. They're planning for a slow year, and they're planning for 2020 to be a really big year with some new hardware and the big releases we've kind of been waiting for. I mean, we'll really see when we hit the E3 timed direct, or the E3 replacement direct. I don't know what to call it. But when it comes to the Nintendo Direct we'd get at the time E3 would usually happen, we'll really know more then, because they do tend to hold some significant things back for that, so they have big E3 announcements. But I feel like we wouldn't have had a Direct Mini, and we would have had a more full Direct with some first party, at least teases, if anything that big was coming this year. And apparently we somehow glossed over it, so we'll go back to the display capture screen. So I did want to just quickly glance at what Nintendo. I can't speak again. I'm doing better for misspeaking than I usually do, I have to say. But yeah, looking at the proper screen again. But when it comes to what's Nintendo has announced, and this is only what they've announced, of course, but what has been announced coming is very devoid of first party offerings, just in general. Lots of great games, don't get me wrong, but they're mostly indies and remakes and remasters and that kind of thing. So if it's not an indie or a remake, there's like, you take all those out of the picture and just go first party Nintendo games. It's like the least first party Nintendo games that have ever been slated to be released for the Switch, at least that I'm aware of. Metacritic's just got a slightly more complete list than Nintendo does on their website, but you just see the same kind of deal. Where's the first party stuff? And where's the late in the year announcements, just in general? Because usually you have like a bunch of like stuff you know is not coming until later in the year. Not always, but there's always been a good, mostly always been a good chunk of stuff that you can see like, okay, here's our Novembers, here's our Septembers, here's our Octobers, and there gets new announcements that add on to it, but it's not usual. You'll see it pretty much after June, July, just kind of, hell, after June, just kind of dwindle. Either they're holding a lot back for the E3 announcement, or they don't have a lot at their E3 announcement, and it's going to be a very interesting E3 direct when they're like, hey, here's all our stuff we're hyping up, and everyone's like, where's the first party stuff? This is cool, but and I think it'll take until the E3 or the direct that would have occurred for E3. I think it'll take until then for a lot of people to wake up to how slow a year this is going to be from Nintendo, because and you know, I could totally be proven wrong by that direct too when it does come around. um I could totally be proven wrong, and they could just have a lot being held back for then. And, you know, there could be a lot more COVID uncertainty as a factor of this than I'm accounting for. But before anything COVID happened, I was like, man, this is going to be a slow year from Nintendo before any of that started up. Um, so you know, it's an impression and a thought I've had brewing for a long time, and the Mario thing was just like kind of my tipping point where it's like, okay, I got to do a video on this sooner than later, or I'll just be too late to do the video. Um, so yeah, I think that pretty much mostly covers all my big points. I did initially kind of want to talk about like what would we get from a Nintendo Switch Pro or a new console, but you know, that's really best for another video. I'll save that for another time. Glancing at my notes if I forgot anything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I covered most of the big points I wanted to. And yeah, like it's totally fine for Nintendo to have a slow year. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you're a shareholder or you're an investor and you've caught up in this paradigm of, oh, if they're not always growing and making more profit than before, there's something wrong. Then it'll freak you out. But to anyone that's not caught up in that paradigm, it's like, oh, slow year, as long as they have plans to, you know, go hard next year, it doesn't really matter. You got to have, you can't always have like, um, what's the word? Yeah, you can't always have hot years where it's just like bam, 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 bam. Like that's just, it doesn't happen. That's unrealistic. And entities that do attempt to do that tend to burn out very hard, very quickly. So yeah, it's going to be a slow 2020 from Nintendo, and that's totally cool, and we should all be cool with it. And it's very unfortunate that, if I'm correct, Nintendo feels that they can't be very upfront about it. My apologies, laundry timer. I don't want to record this again, so my apologies about the laundry timer. I should have muted. Anyways, where was I? Um, yeah, like, um, yeah, it's unfortunate that, if I'm correct, Nintendo probably feels like they can't be upfront about having a slow year because they're worried about shareholders and investors and all that getting a bit freaked out, because that's what they do. They get freaked out when they don't have unlimited continual growth and always increasing profits. They're like, no, what's going wrong? It's like, nothing's wrong, it's just a slow year. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but whatever. If I'm forgetting something, it's forgotten. Should mention, got a new hat because it's a Mario themed one. I gotta get better on the different hats for different themes. Like, I want to wear the Doomslayer helmet while playing Doom, but it's just impractical. But yeah, I gotta get on top of the different hats for different themes, because like I pretty much got Mario and a head crab, and I gotta do better than that. Anyways, this is the part where I shill out my Patreon and all that. Yeah, Patreon and GoFundMe. The links are all in the description. Patreon's just more of a general support me and the kiddies. The GoFundMe's specific to equipment and ongoing expenses related specifically to Intoxicus Gaming, and the GoFundMe's also specifically to purchase things that improve the quality of the channel and the quality of the production. There's a PayPal link there too. And also, oh yes, with Patreon, there's an exclusive Collectors Corner show. There'll be more exclusive content as time goes on. As I think of things to do as exclusive content, there'll be previews for various content, and generally it'll be a more direct way to influence and be involved with the creation of the content for Intoxicus Gaming. Starts at $1 a month USD. I'm sure most people know what Patreon is by now. And yeah, much appreciated if y'all would support Intoxicus Gaming through that means or any means you choose. Streams today at what's going on? It just like alt tabbed out of my window. That was weird. Anyways, streams going on today, just finishing up some loose ends with Control. That probably won't take the full stream. Well, there's the Jukebox DLC I never finished, so we might wind up doing the Jukebox DLC and trying to finish that, but depending on how finishing up the Control DLC goes, there's really not a lot other than the Jukebox DLC I haven't finished, which is a previous DLC. So depending on how that goes, I might switch to another game when we beat that, so we'll have to see. Might even just do some Doom Eternal multiplayer to wrap up any time if we finish early enough. So yeah, I hope you guys see me at the stream tonight, because I only read your chat. I don't actually get to see any of your faces. You all get to see my faces. But anyways, I think that about covers all the things I need to remember to say at the end of the video. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Remember to bring a towel as always.